into those games off the back of a win is a much better situation to be in than going into them off the back of defeat.
Yeah, I suppose so. Football's about confidence and belief and togetherness, and the key, of course, is when you lose a few games, is to try and keep their belief and their confidence positive and keep going. And I think we would have been doing that anyway. I think there's a lot of real hard work gone into this season, and to get we've got 52 points now. We had 49 before the weekend. I don't know where the end game's going to be, but what you don't want to do is get a group of inexperienced players worried, looking over their shoulders, looking at the table. God, if we lose the next 2 or 3 and they're pretty tough games, we could be looking, getting dragged in. I think the 3 points at the weekend gives you 52 points. I think we can go into the next 10 games and just attack them really and be positive. And even if we didn't win any, I don't know exactly. I haven't studied the stats, but it's 52 points is a lot of points if you're going to get relegated or get sucked into a relegation battle. So my point being, I think there's a lot of really good work, a lot of positive stuff gone on with the team. They've worked extremely hard. They are pretty inexperienced in this league, but let's hope we can finish strong. Let's hope. The intention is to be positive against every team, not to have a fearful approach, but to go and play on the front foot and be positive and see how many wins we can get over the next 10.
And obviously 52 points, you'd have to assume that was going to be well enough to be safe. So does that give you, or give the players, a bit of sense of freedom going into these next 3 games?
Yeah, and what I was trying to say there is I felt that was before the Norwich game. I think 49 points. I'd be, with total respect to the 3 teams sitting in the bottom 3 at the moment, they are really struggling to win football matches, and they're going to have to probably win 5 or 6 of their last 10 to get to 49 points. And so, I'm not sure they're going to do that. But so there wasn't a lot of pressure before going into the Norwich game. We told them to be positive, to play on the front foot, to enjoy the challenge, and that's what we did. I thought first half particularly we created 2 or 3 really good chances that we could have scored more goals, and it wasn't a team full of anxiety and tension and nervousness sitting back, and it was a team on the front foot, and I think that's the way we played at the weekend, and hopefully that's the way we'll play tomorrow and for the remainder of the season.
And it, presumably because of the teams you're going to be playing, you don't have to do much in terms of motivation either.
No, and I think, listen, again, I would say that, I'm not sure how long since the start of this season that we've played Norwich. I think all the games that we play, and there should be a fantastic challenge for our club over the last 4 years or whatever it is that they were in League One. It's to play Sheffield United, who were in the Premier League not so long ago, and to play Norwich, and to play all the teams, the Middlesbroughs, the Blackburns, 2 teams there I mentioned that we have beaten at home recently over the last 2 months. So we shouldn't fear playing the teams in the top 6. We should see it as a great challenge and somewhere where we want to try and strive to be and get to, and let's see how close we are to these teams.
Of course, not only would you do yourselves a big favour if you beat Sheffield United, you also do Middlesbrough a big favour as well, wouldn't you?
I don't know, would I? I'm not sure. I don't think I can sit here and say that, to be honest. For me, we just have to try and win the football match and do ourselves a favour, really, because the madness of this league is that if we do win on Wednesday and we go in and beat Luton, all of a sudden you've won 3 on the bounce, and the table will look, and I don't know where the table will be, but otherwise we could be sneaking right in on the cusp of the playoffs again with 7 games to go, and that's what I'd like the team to try and achieve, to be flirting with the playoffs right till the end, really, to see if we can create that excitement in the fan base, really. I think again, everyone will have their own opinion. I think it's been a positive season for the football club, and to be in and around it, even to be discussing it or talking about it, is positive, having come out of the league below, and the other teams who came out of the league below are feeling what this division is about. I'm not sure at this moment Wigan might be bottom of the league, and was it Rotherham? I'm not sure. Was it Rotherham who came up? They're doing okay, but they're still flirting with the bottom of the league as well. And it's good for our club to not to be looking over our shoulder and actually thinking if we can win the next couple of games, we can make the end of the season really exciting for the supporters.
I mean, anybody would say that it's been a successful season for Sunderland. I think, looking at the table now, coming straight back into the Championship in the first season, it has to be seen as a success so far. But as you say, you can't stop now. But even if you didn't get any more points, I think the fans would have to be relatively satisfied with what's been achieved this season.
This is our seasons are made up of pieces. Every game's its own event really, and so we've got 10 huge events to navigate our way through, and we sit here. Why do teams go on really positive runs, and then why do they hit negative runs where they can't win even if they're playing all right? We'll take the confidence out of going to Norwich away and winning into these 2 home games, and yet I'm very aware of if there's a league table for the home games and a league table for the away games. I was looking at them the other day actually. We are well in the bottom half at home, and I think we were 4th in the league away from home and accruing points. So it's something we need to address moving forward. Just the balance, the style of play. Maybe we're too expansive. Maybe we are spreading the team out too much at home and leaving ourselves a little bit more vulnerable. And yet, a lot of the people I speak to who come and watch the games have enjoyed the brand of football. But you saw the balance we have to get is winning football matches, trying to play an attractive style that scores goals. Of course, everything in the mix. Losing Ross, losing Ellis, that going back, all our strikers sort of unavailable at the time. There's lots of different things in the equation. I don't want to keep bringing them sort of stats up, but I think this season has been a little bit unusual. It has been a bit stop-start. It has been a little bit fractious of what sort of teams we can put out, and. I remember sitting here, I said it in the last press conference, that, I genuinely felt, after the World Cup, that we were going to have a really good, strong second half of the season. And then Ross got injured and he's out for the season. Corey got injured the next game. It's all of a sudden it became more difficult. We struggled to get the right recruitment in the window because of the lateness of Ross's injury, and so it threw things into a bit of a situation that we'd have preferred not to be in. But we'll still get judged on the season after 46 games, and I hope after 46 games we'll have accrued a good number of points and give a good account of ourselves in vast majority of the games. I think that's how I see it. I don't sit here thinking, come on, let's win 6 games and get however many, 18 on top of, how many points that gives you up towards close to 70, because generally around 70 he'll get you in and around the playoffs. It's I don't know whether we're going to win 6 or 7 or we're going to win 2 or 3, but we are going to try and win all of them.
Just finally, obviously with young players, you'd expect a lot of sort of youthful exuberance and a bit of sort of play acting sometimes. I think Luke O'Nien sort of seems to be coming in for a little bit of criticism that he might be just pushing it.
Right. So, with total respect, I'm assuming you're talking about him giving their player a little kiss, did he? Listen, you have to know Luke O'Nien. Luke O'Nien, as I've said many times sitting in this room, Luke O'Nien is an amazing human being, a fantastic guy. I can't find any aspect at all of being able to criticise Luke O'Nien because of the kid he is, really, and yet I'm not sure why he would do that. I don't know, you should ask him. I don't know whether you get the opportunity to ask him them direct questions after games and stuff, but I just want to leave it as saying, listen, what a fantastic guy. There would have been no animosity in anything that he did. I'm not sure if he's, because I'm assuming he's on social media. I don't know if he's tweeted anything about it or he's talked about it, but yeah, a little bit unusual. If I'm going to give you a final comment on it, there would be no malicious intent on anything, and I don't think anybody's suggesting that, other than, listen, he's a great guy, and in that second and in that moment, to try and defuse a situation, that's probably what he did.
Thank you.
Hi Tony.
Hi.
You mentioned those 3 games against teams in the top 6. How much of a confidence boost is it coming off with the kind of win that you had at the weekend, where it was so defensively solid and everyone really put in a shift to get the result?
Yeah, listen, any win's massive, to be honest. I think, and I don't want to be like flippant about it. Listen, it is a result against the grain. I don't, even the team, the group, we knew travelling to Norwich away in the Premier League last year. They've been on a really good run. They've got some very talented players. We knew it was a big ask to go to Norwich and get a result, and yet I think scoring the first goal is, even we went to Fulham in the Cup, scored the first goal, and we have got a real resilience about us and a togetherness that can make life difficult for the opposition, and I think that's what we did. We got the first goal, and we maybe should have scored a second. I think. But a huge credit to the players for approaching the game the way they did. And then as you get pushed back in the second half, their resistance, resilience was something that you don't... It's not coaching. I don't sit here and say, I played a tactical game where I did this and I did that. It's them really, within their core, putting their bodies on the line, stopping shots, blocking shots, making tackles, and yet we still carried a threat on the back of that as well. So, that's the group they are, and that's why we've done okay over the course of the season. I think we look forward. I know I sit here and look forward to the next transfer window and trying to help the group get better depth and strength in certain areas of the pitch. And then we've got 1 or 2 injuries that are important that will come back hopefully stronger and ready. I don't fear for the group. I think the group are really strong, and yet I do laugh sometimes. I do sit there with the staff watching them warming up, as they're doing their little drills as they warm up with the sports science department, and think, goodness me, can you believe we played in the championship with a lot of with these young boys, really, because they look so young and they mess about and they're so daft, and yet, because the perception is of big, strong, athletic men in their mid-20s, understanding football, played 250 games and ready to go, and yet they're not. They're learning on the job really as they go along, and it's good to be here with them and trying to guide them in the right direction at times.
And obviously Sheffield United tomorrow, second in the league. What sort of threats are they going to pose you, and what do you make of the job that Paul Heckingbottom's done since he's come in?
Yeah, listen, I like Paul. I think he carries lots of emotional intelligence. I think he's a bright guy. I think he knows which buttons to push with his footballers. You have to put into context that, was it 2 years ago they were up finishing 10th or something in the Premier League, or it might have been 3 years ago, I'm not sure, but they were up in the Premier League doing extraordinarily well, and there's still a lot of them players at that football club, and so we shouldn't be surprised that Sheffield United is doing really well. I think Heckie's done a really amazing job, because he almost fell upon the job really, having been a part of the staff, and then he got thrust in and did that well, that they've kept him going. So I really like Paul Heckingbottom and the way he carries himself really, I think, and his team reflecting his values and the work ethic that they bring. I think they've hit a spell, haven't they, where I was looking at their day to day. I think they've won 2 of the last 6. They've hit a spell that at this stage of the season they'd like to have been powering on and winning game after game, and they've found it a little bit more difficult. They're on, obviously, like we went through last month, a spell of games where it was literally every 3 days because of their progression in the FA Cup. They've got I think they play Blackburn Rovers on Saturday in the quarter-final of the FA Cup to get to Wembley, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming their focus is 100% on the league, not the cup, because the league produces Premier League football if they can finish second, and so so it's a big test for us, but one over the last 6 games they've found the going difficult, probably because of the game every 3 days, and I think this club found the going difficult that when we hit a spell where we had a cup replay and the games just kept coming and coming and coming, and we lost a couple of games that I believe if there had been the Saturday games we'd have won, but and that's what can happen. The team can drain a little bit of energy. I saw his report yesterday, or his interview after the previous game, and he said it was the lowest physical data of the season and they need to adjust and address that. So I'm expecting them to come trying to put a real physical effort into this game, and we have to be ready to match that.
And you talked about hitting the 52-point mark in the table. Does that almost give you the impetus to say to the lads, you know, we can finish anywhere now. You know, we can really go after this. You know, does it kind of set that target potentially a bit further, a bit higher than it possibly could have done, and had some results not gone your way?
I think the job is to challenge them every day. What do they want to get from their careers? What do they want to be? Are they happy to sit in the middle of the table? Do they want to be a team that is competing at the top end of the table? For me, it's about throwing a challenge out to them really as a group. Because some teams hit a certain target and then don't win another game because they think they've done the work for the season. And what's important for us is that we keep trying to push on, and yet we do have a run of 3 games against, you know, first, second, and fourth in the league, and all 3 of them teams have had an amazing away record, and so they're difficult games for us. So. But yeah, I just think see it as a challenge for them. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? You've already beaten Middlesbrough and Blackburn, the other 2 teams in the top 6 this season at home, and so is the next challenge. Can you keep winning against the top teams at home and see where it takes you? And that's what we'll be trying to do over the next 2 games.
And lastly from me, just you mentioned Sheffield United's recent form. Does that give you more impetus? Is it a good time to play them, or are you expecting a bit of a needle in the game because of that recent form?
I think both. I think top teams react from adversity, and I expect them to come fired up and really focused on their jobs, which is okay because that's what I've just talked about, a challenge. You want to try and beat the best teams at their best. Not come back, win 1-0 and they say, everybody was out on their feet, that was the worst performance of the season from us. You know, you want them to give it their best shot, and you want to be able to match that and better it. And so we look forward to Sheffield United coming full of energy and drive and commitment, and we have to see whether we're good enough to cope with it.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers.
How are Ahmad and Pritchard?
I haven't seen Ahmad today to the point he's with the medical department. But yeah, he was on the grass doing a little bit of training yesterday just with the medical department. Still has an awareness and a feeling, so I've just told him we'll forget about tomorrow. Pritchard was on the grass with Ahmad yesterday with the medical department and was out training with us today, so he'll probably have some involvement. We'll wait and see if there's any reaction from his training. I'll know tomorrow, but if his name appears on the bench, then he's come through and he feels all right. But Ahmed won't. Hopefully for Saturday, I would think.
And Lyndon, was he all right after Saturday?
Yeah. I thought Lyndon did really well. You know, he brings, as I talked after the game, I think he brings that grit to the team. Really, that drive, that that balances off against your technical players that you've got. You know, it's not saying he's not technical, but he brings true grit, I think, to the team, and I think you can play him in many positions. And you know, he was doing extremely well for us, to be fair, before he got injured. And but it gave Trey Hume an opportunity, and look how well Trey Hume was performing. And so adversity for one player give success for another, and now Gucci has to find a spot in the team and work hard as he does every day in training, and he's a joy to be around. I'd have to say, Gooch, and he epitomises the industrious side of what this team needs to bring.
When he was here on Saturday about Ahmad, about Ahmad, just about the football to play.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've been prepared for? Because you look through your team, Patrick's probably played more this season than he's ever played. Dan Neil's obviously first season at this level, and you could go on and on with the players. Is that something that you've been prepared for and have to monitor closely?
Well, every professional football club monitors every single day's training and manage their loads through the week. And so today, lucky that we'd have done 2,000 metres today. We basically walking through our game prep, having played on Wednesday, at the week on Sunday, and then it's trained yesterday, trained today, but basically walking 2 days to go and play again on Wednesday. You're just trying to manage their loads, and so that Saturday or Wednesday as it is this week is a huge peak spike in their work ethic. And there's certain numbers that you get to over the week. So in 2 game weeks, you've got 2 huge spikes where they'll cover 10, 11, 12,000 metres, and if they're doing that twice, there's 24, 25,000 metres, and the whole week's training should be around, for us, between 25 and 30,000 metres, and so the days in between the games become really, really minimal, and that's why it's so difficult in these games when you're playing every 3 days. You're spiking your physical output so high to try and prepare for the next game against a different type of team, either a technical team or a direct team or a physical team. What's really difficult to do the proper preparation to get that game right, because if you push them too hard and you spike the data again, all of a sudden you are going to pick up injuries, which is at some stage you have to do the work. Otherwise you'll feel totally unprepared. You have to do the work, and if you overspike them because they can't quite get it and you have to keep repeating for half an hour rather than 10 minutes, that's generally the games on the back of that people pick up hamstrings and calves, because instead of doing 25,000 metres a week, they've done 32, and all of a sudden their body's just breaking down a little bit.
Just ask you about Abdullah, obviously first goal of the weekend. How do you reflect on his season? He's played a fair bit of football considering it's been his first season here. And where, a year down the line, for example, would you like him to be, or do you think he can be?
I think there's a really good footballer in there. I think he struggled with the communication side of things at the club a little bit, and trying to get across where we want him to be, what his job is, what he has to do out of possession, in possession. It's been a challenge, and yet I think there's real talent there. There's some power in his legs and his running power, and there's some explosive stuff as well. And yet, he's competing against some pretty good technical players. If you talk about Ahmed and Patrick and Jack, he really his position's higher up the pitch, and I think he has to try and fill the boots of Ahmed somewhere down the line. When he goes back to United, and I'm not saying he's going to come in and he's going to play there all the time, but the opportunity is going to be there for him to grab that opportunity. I do feel there's aspects of his game that we talk to him about as much as we can. When to play simple, when to do what you do and dribble and try and beat people and eliminate the opposition. But I think 4 months, 5 months down the line, he'll be a much more rounded footballer, and I think the club signed a really good player, and let's wait and see. And I don't want to sit here and go, he's definitely a stick on in the team in 6 months. It's down to him. If he keeps scoring goals, he'll be a stick on for the rest of the season. But Ahmed's going to be fit up maybe for Saturday. Pritchard will be chomping at the bit as he does. It's there's competition, and that's what football should be, a competition within a competition of your club to get in the team. And then when you're in the team, you have to affect the game. You have to create chances. You have to score goals. It's if you're that type of player, that's what the game is.
At Sheffield United, they were, I think, 10 points clear at one point, not so long ago. Are you surprised by how it's taken? Did you expect them to do what Burnley have done, streaking away really?
No, I don't think so. I think everybody knows how Sheffield United play. Everybody knows they have outside centre halves in the back three that push up the pitch and overlap and join in and create overloads in the wide areas, and and I don't think it's a surprise. I think Burnley have been a surprise to the league because they are so different from what they were, and Company's brought a totally different dynamic with different types of players. So in our game against them, they played the big centre forward up the middle first half, and we were 2-0 up, and then he brought his two flying, fast, clever, intelligent wingers on and changed the game. And I'd have to say, they've got Premier League depth, they've got lots of different types of footballers, and yet I don't see that depth in Sheffield United, and I think they've done amazingly well to be where they are. They're feeling it now. Middlesbrough, we all can see that they've had an amazing run. They've accumulated as many points as Burnley over the last dozen games or something, and it's amazing to see how they have gelled as a group. There has been investment. They've got a lot of players in their team who can score goals, and it's going to be a really interesting last 10 games for both of them clubs. Luton are doing amazingly well, you'd have to say, and it's not the first year. They made the playoffs last year. It's almost, because there's a small, when you look at their stadium and their environment, it feels like a small club, and yet they've invested as well. Corey Woodrow 3 years ago was one of the best players in the Championship, and yet he sits on their bench every week and comes on for 20 minutes at the end. They've got a bigger than little Luton, that narrative that they might spin. They're doing exceptionally well as well. So the league's tight. It's going to be interesting because it looks like Middlesbrough have got the momentum. Sheffield United have got to win some football matches, which is why this one is a really dangerous game for us. Of course, it's because they are desperate to keep going and win football matches, so they're going to come and be really aggressive and positive. I'm sure they're not going to come and try and sit in and nick it 1-0. I think they're going to come and try and use their talent and their quality. So it should be a good game, and one that we have to be ready for.